evading human contact, would you? In a thin place and to disappear back into the nether world.
That's where the what goes?
The Bigfoot. That's why you never can catch him. Yeah. I mean, is it possible he's going there and that's why you can't catch him?
Could be.
I mean, he may have learned.
Possible.
He may have learned over time to know where these thin places are, and he ducks into them every time a white man comes with a big gun.
There's lots of legends like that, unexplained beings that disappear and come back, disappear and come back, and that's been. I mean, that's thousands of years. People have been talking about that, and slipping into the other world, being whatever you perceive the other world to be, not being up in the sky or out in space, but being literally right next to you in a dimension you cannot experience with your five senses.
All right. And do you have another one of your thin places you know of?
In the United States?
Yeah.
Maine, we certainly experienced a lot of really holy kind of places in Maine. Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia was remarkable, just remarkable. And Nova Scotia had the Scots come in from Roslin, which is another very, very thin place in Scotland, where they had the Masons do all of that ornate work there. Nova Scotia, I wanted to see Oak Island, which is a place where there's allegedly this great treasure buried, and it's all privately owned. And all of a sudden, things came together when we were up there. Nobody can get on that island. You can't even drive on it because the causeway is owned by a property owner, which will, absolutely stop you. But we met somebody who had a boat, who owned a piece of the property. Things just all came together, and we were able to go onto it. So, certainly there, and out in Montana, we did experience a lot of beautiful, beautiful country out there. We just didn't stay long enough. I think you really do have to stay a long time. So
now, of course, somebody mentions here in the live chat, Stephen King lives in Maine.
Yeah, my husband went to school with Stephen King.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he seems to be, a lot of his movies have a sort of, although a lot of alien type of thing, but I guess you could say.
Absolutely true, and that's not a coincidence. There's more writers, I read somewhere, there's more writers, published writers, coming out of Maine, if you do writers per capita, like for the population, percentage being published writers, than any other state. And artists, it's extreme, their art just thrives there, people's creativity. Their sense of the mystical site. You have a lot of activity up there with with all kinds of spiritual groups.
Well, let me ask you something. Is it possible, and have you ever seen trees in a circle, and that being a possibility of a thin place?
Yeah, I have never experienced that.
Here in Indiana, we have this state nature preserve. It's called Yellowwood Forest, and a phenomena that came to light a couple of years back was that there were the 400-pound rocks up in the trees that could no way have gotten up there by themselves. Were you familiar with that?
No, I certainly wasn't.
Do a search on that, Yellowwood here in Indiana. And, of course, people said, people put them up there for a joke, but it's like 40 minutes into the woods. It's like, how are you going to get these big stones up there? They look like, they were just set there. And so I don't know if that's a thin place or not, but that's about all we got here in Indiana besides corn. I'm just wondering, maybe we might have some crop circles. I guess that wouldn't be a thin place. That would be a bizarre place for alien craft, eh?
Well, I'm not the definer of thin places. I don't want anyone to be misled. I just know what I know, and I can share that. But somebody else might have a perspective on thin places, and I'd be very interested in hearing it just as anybody would. So, who knows? That could be another piece of it.
Well, if somebody wants to continue that conversation with you, can they get a hold of you through your website?
Sure.
And so you guys talk about thin places and that?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so are you planning on seeking out more thin places? I'm
going to finish this book first. And I'm always looking for thin places. But
how do you find? Do people tell you? Do they call you and say, "Look, I think I found a thin place. Could you come investigate?"
No, they'll find you. Something will happen. Somebody will tell you about something, and like you just told me about the Yellowwood. And you pursue what you hear, and you find out what you need to know. I mean,
really?
Most of the thin places I found that. I don't even remember. Somebody told me about them. I mean, you can go through guidebooks and certainly find major things. But I think if you go looking for a thin place, that's just not the right way to do it.
Well, okay.
You go to an interesting place or a place that seems spiritually interesting to you, something that fascinates you, and be with it for a while and see if you feel drawn to go back to it. I think that's the definition. Do you want to go back? Is it drawing you back? Because the thin, when you're in thin places, that's when you hear. Thin places are about being somewhere where you hear what's coming from the other world. So naturally, it's going to be magnetic and draw you back.
Really? So what you're saying then is a thin place for each person that is experiencing that, there's some sort of calling.
I think so.
You feel like a calling?
I really do think so.
That you said basically the legitimate one then would be one that you didn't go seek out. Like a tourist trap, say. You're trying to get some kind of activity at a tourist trap because you heard, they got a good deal on tickets.
Yeah, I would never want anybody to quote me as saying this is a legitimate or not legitimate thin place. What I would say is that if you want to experience thin places, go to a place where people have said there's a lot of thin places, like Ireland, and listen to say, well, maybe I want to go see Clonmacnoise. Lots of people say that's a thin place, and while you're at Clonmacnoise, listen to what people say. Pick up a brochure that you happen to find somewhere. They'll find you. You just have to listen.
Yeah, but
and another good thing about visiting thin places, and I learned this too late because there's a lot of information I lost, you should have something that you can write in by hand, not a laptop, but some kind of small notebook where while you're there you mark down things that are fascinating to you or things that you thought about or people you met or experiences you had, because you will forget those. And when you go back to look at that, it will be very telling. It will be you can continually learn from those experiences if you've written some things down.
Indeed, I see what you're saying there. So when you find these thin places, then do you feel that? Well, now you visited some, but then you've also sort of found your own permanent thin place. So how do you sort out the thin places you've seen from the one that you're called to? Is it a different feeling, different calling? What?
Oh yeah, it's where I belong. I often thought, I have a picture on my homepage on my computer that is a webcam of the O'Connell Bridge in Dublin, and it just fascinates me that I can click on that page and see what's going on at the O'Connell Bridge at any given moment. And then I think, I'm so drawn to Ireland, but it was my last trip to Ireland in February where I really wanted to come home. I just, when the 2 or 3 weeks was up, I thought, I really want to come home. And when I came back to Maryland, I thought, I love Ireland and I love a lot of places I've visited, but I belong here. This is it's almost like the Indians said that the earth owns you, you don't own it. And I knew that. So this is my place.
Okay. How long did it take you to get to your place? How many years? I mean, you said you guys said, well, we're supposed to be somewhere. How long did it take you to get there, to find there, to move there?
Somerset County, it probably didn't take that long. Once I found Somerset County, which nobody knew about when I found it, now few people know about it now. We bought a summer home here, and I loved it, and I thought it was nice. But I again found the same thing. I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back. I wanted to bring other people back there. And then finally, we just decided that we wanted to move there. We waited until our last child was out of high school, so we didn't have to uproot our children. But we knew we were going to live there. So it was just a matter of a couple of years of having the visits of knowing this is where we needed to be. Did
your kids move with you, or are they still in the area?
No, heck no. It's not their place.
That's not their thin place. So
they're young, and this, I hope that they'll want to eventually settle back here as they grow and, find their lives.
So are they convinced? Are they convinced Mom's not crazy that thin places do exist?
Well, no, they think I'm crazy. Of course, they think I'm crazy. They're young. They have no experience yet. So I think it's they respect me. Don't get me wrong. They really do respect me, and they know what I think. But it's not their belief yet. They haven't lived long enough to really experience that. But they're very spiritual people, and I'm sure they'll find what's important for them.
Oh, okay, all right. And so in thin places, then. By the way, our technical director has a picture of the Celtic cross up in our chat. He keeps that thing updated basically as you're talking, and so of course it'll be off by time.